I kept sliding past and falling down, and we're trying to figure out I need to stop at this point. So what we did was I waxed it right to that center point. So if you see where my body kind of goes like that, it's because I had the wax there, and then I put another sticky stuff on the other side so I wouldn't slide all the way across.
From improvised scenes to casting decisions that nearly changed everything, Risky Business hides a story far more unpredictable than what made it on screen. Today, we're breaking down 20 weird facts, backed by behind-the-scenes stories, casting reports, and production decisions that shaped the film. And trust this, by the time we reach number 1, you'll never look at that iconic house the same way again. Number 20. The dance that wasn't planned. The most iconic moment in Risky Business almost didn't exist in the way audiences remember it today. The famous dance scene, now burned into pop culture, wasn't carefully choreographed or rehearsed for days. Instead, it came down to a single, simple instruction: dance to rock music. That was it. No detailed steps, no rigid plan, no strict direction. What followed was something completely unexpected. Tom Cruise stepped into the scene with freedom most actors rarely get. With the camera rolling, he began to experiment, moving naturally, reacting to the music, and building the performance as it happened. The now famous slide across the floor, the use of a candlestick as a microphone, and even the rhythm of the movements were all created in real time. Nothing about it was forced, and that spontaneity gave the scene its raw, unforgettable energy. However, the moment almost didn't work visually. The floor itself became a challenge. It was too rough to allow a smooth glide, which made the movements look awkward instead of effortless. To fix this, the crew made quick adjustments. One section of the floor was dusted to reduce friction, while another was treated with tape to help crews stop at the right moment. That simple solution turned a problem into perfection. What looked effortless on screen came from chaos, and that same unpredictability followed the film long before casting was even finalized. Number 19. Sunglasses that saved a brand. The impact of Risky Business went far beyond the screen, especially for a struggling accessory brand that few people were paying attention to at the time. Before the film's release, Ray-Ban's Wayfarer sunglasses were fading from relevance. Sales had dropped sharply, and the style was close to disappearing from stores altogether. It was not seen as fashionable or essential anymore. Everything changed the moment Tom Cruise wore them on screen. The combination of confidence, attitude, and that unforgettable dance scene gave the sunglasses a new identity. They were no longer just eyewear. They became a symbol. Almost overnight, audiences began associating the look with effortless, cool, and quiet rebellion. The results were immediate and dramatic. Sales surged by nearly 2,000%, turning a declining product into a global trend. What had once been overlooked became one of the most recognizable fashion items of the decade. Retailers struggled to keep up with demand, as more people tried to capture that same feeling. Behind it all was a product placement strategy that worked perfectly. Instead of feeling forced, the sunglasses blended naturally into the character. That authenticity made the impact stronger. In the end, one small wardrobe choice didn't just support a character, it completely revived an entire brand. It reshaped trends and influenced culture for years. Number 18. The moment that made a star. Tom Cruise established his Hollywood career path after he completed his work on Risky Business. His smaller acting parts showed his potential, but he needed to show a stronger performance, which would establish him as a leading man. The moment he entered the part of Joel Goodson, his acting career reached new heights. The film provided him with on-screen time, but it also allowed him to showcase his ability to lead a complete movie. His performance brought balance to the character, which helped him stand out from other performers. The confident hero stereotype does not apply to Joel, who demonstrates different personality traits. He created situations that made him feel uncertain while experiencing social awkwardness and emotional breakdowns. While Cruise performed the role, he brought a special combination of charm and control that made the character believable. The audience observed his inner conflict between ambition and fear, which created a genuine experience that did not depend on dramatic exaggeration. His ability to show both his vulnerable side and his self-assuredness turned into his primary attraction factor. The audience related to him because he displayed imperfections. He appeared to be a real person who faced difficulties because he made poor decisions. The connection between them created instant recognition of him by people who had previously ignored him. Cruise became an established actor after that moment, who no longer needed to search for his big breakthrough acting. Risky Business provided him with his first major success, which would develop into an enduring and well-known career path through his entire professional life. The event signaled his entrance into worldwide fame. Number 17. The casting that almost changed everything. The role of Joel Goodson was left unconfirmed until Tom Cruise got cast as the lead of Risky Business. The casting process included a surprising list of young actors who would later become major stars. The production team evaluated Tom Hanks and Nicolas Cage and Michael J. Fox during different times of the casting process. The film's early production stage needed to find its direction because each actor brought unique performance characteristics. The movie would establish a completely different atmosphere if they selected any one of those actors. Tom Hanks probably would have pursued a more straightforward, yet humorous style. Michael J. Fox could have introduced a more energetic and lively performance. Nicolas Cage had already developed his signature intense and erratic acting style in his early career. The same script, delivered through different personalities, would have created entirely different versions of Joel. The decision affected multiple character outcomes. The choice created the fundamental essence of the entire film. The film required this particular actor to establish the core elements between its comic relief and its suspenseful moments and its authentic elements. Cruise created a performance that combined two opposite forces yet maintained control of his character, which created a perfect match with the story development. The film industry used casting as a process to find actors who matched specific production needs. The filmmakers needed to identify particular qualities which would determine the film's successful execution. Number 16. A new kind of teen movie. Teen movies established their conventional pattern because Risky Business became their first major release. The majority of the storylines maintained a light tone, which concentrated on school life and basic romantic relationships and non-violent rebellious behavior. The show maintained a secure and predictable atmosphere which allowed viewers to enjoy their experience without any extreme interruptions. The film created a new experience by demonstrating something that did not follow the established plot. The film showed a teenager who encountered adult situations which required him to make important choices that would lead to definite results. Joel Goodson tested his boundaries through class skipping and his quest for social acceptance. He handled risk assessment while making business agreements until his issues transformed into unmanageable situations. The story treated those moments seriously, even when humor was present. The film acquired its better fighting power through that balance. The film presented itself as realistic, which made it different from other films because viewers could instantly recognize its uniqueness. The new direction enabled filmmakers to create more sophisticated portrayals of teenage experiences through their upcoming projects. The movies that succeeded Ferris Bueller's Day Off established their main characters as teenagers who could tell serious stories while keeping their audience entertained. The film shifted its main theme to show how people navigate their identities through situations that cause them to feel pressure about their independence. The 1980s established a new path for coming-of-age films through that approach. The original simple solution transformed into multiple complicated elements. Teen stories evolved beyond their previous shallow depiction of youth experiences. The characters developed real-life traits which displayed their authentic decision-making process. The characters began to display a mature understanding of the process of becoming an adult. Number 15. A surprise box office hit. When Risky Business was released, expectations were controlled and cautious. It was not built as a massive studio event, and its budget reflected that. With limited resources and a story that didn't fit neatly into a single category, the film entered theaters without the kind of hype that usually drives early success. On paper, it looked like a modest project with uncertain reach. What happened next caught many people off guard. The film steadily gained attention, pulling in audiences beyond its initial target. It went on to earn over $63 million, a strong return that placed it among the biggest releases of 1983. For a film that wasn't expected to dominate the box office, that result stood out. A large part of that success came from word of mouth. Viewers who saw it early began talking about specific scenes, the tone, and the performance at the center of it all. That organic attention kept the film moving forward week after week. Instead of fading after its opening, it continued to grow. The mix of humor, tension, and unexpected depth made it easy for audiences to recommend. It didn't feel like every other release at the time. That difference gave it staying power. In the end, the film proved that strong reactions from viewers could carry a project further than early expectations ever predicted. Number 14. The ending that didn't survive. The version of Risky Business that audiences remember today is not the one its director originally intended. Paul Brickman had written and filmed an ending that leaned into uncertainty rather than comfort. Instead of wrapping things up neatly, the story closed on a more uneasy note, leaving Joel's choices hanging in the air. It reflected the consequences of what he had done without offering clear reassurance about what came next. That approach didn't sit well with early test audiences. Viewers responded with discomfort, not in a way that sparked discussion, but in a way that made the experience feel incomplete. The reaction was strong enough that it couldn't be ignored. For a film trying to reach a wide audience, that kind of response created immediate concern. The studio stepped in and pushed for changes. They believed the ending needed to feel more accessible, something that would leave audiences satisfied rather than uncertain. Additional scenes were created to soften the tone and give the story a more balanced finish. The shift wasn't just small adjustments, it changed the emotional weight of the final moments. What remained was a compromise between vision and expectation. The darker edge was reduced, replaced by something easier to accept. In the end, the film kept its identity, but its conclusion became a reflection of what audiences were ready to embrace at that time. Number 13. Real feelings, real tension. The connection between Joel and Lana felt unusually real on screen, and that wasn't just acting. During production, Tom Cruise and Rebecca De Mornay developed a genuine relationship that slowly grew while the cameras were still rolling. At first, their dynamic was not smooth or easy. There was tension, mixed impressions, and a level of unpredictability that carried into their early scenes together. As filming continued, that dynamic shifted. What started as friction began to evolve into something more personal. That change created a natural chemistry that couldn't be forced or recreated through direction alone. Their interactions started to feel less like performance and more like real moments unfolding. Small details, like eye contact, pauses, and reactions, came across with a level of authenticity that stood out. Behind the scenes, the situation was not simple. Emotions and personal circumstances added complexity that the cast and crew could sense, even if it wasn't openly discussed. That underlying tension gave certain scenes an edge that aligned perfectly with the tone of the story. Number 12. Selling a different movie. When Risky Business was finished, it didn't fit neatly into a clear category. The story carried darker ideas beneath the surface, touching on pressure, risk, and consequences that felt closer to adult life than a typical teen film. That created a challenge. Selling it exactly as it was might have limited its reach, especially for audiences expecting something lighter. The marketing strategy took a different direction. Instead of highlighting the heavier elements, the film was presented as a fun, easygoing teen comedy. The focus shifted toward humor, style, and memorable moments rather than the underlying tension. This repositioning made the movie feel more familiar and inviting, even if it didn't fully represent everything the story contained. David Geffen played a key role in shaping that approach. With limited resources compared to larger studio productions, the campaign had to be efficient and clear. By leaning into a lighter tone, the film became easier to promote and easier for audiences to understand at a glance. It created a strong first impression without revealing too much complexity. That decision opened the door to a wider audience. People came in expecting entertainment and stayed for something deeper. The contrast worked in the film's favor. It allowed Risky Business to reach beyond expectations while still delivering a story that had more weight than its marketing suggested. Number 11. The car scene everyone remembers. One of the most unforgettable moments in Risky Business happens quietly, yet it carries a heavy impact. The scene where the Porsche slowly rolls into the water is simple in execution, but powerful in meaning. There is no loud action or dramatic music pushing it forward. Instead, the tension builds from the situation itself, making it feel real and unavoidable. Visually, it became one of the film's defining images. Watching the car disappear into the water created a sense of loss that stayed with audiences long after the scene ended. It wasn't just about the car. It represented something much bigger. That moment captured the weight of Joel's decisions and how quickly things had spiraled beyond his control. Up to that point, his actions carried a sense of excitement and risk, almost like a game. This scene changed that tone completely. It forced a shift from confidence to consequence. The situation was no longer manageable, and the reality of what he had done became impossible to ignore. But what looked like one simple moment actually required far more behind the scenes. Number 10. One scene, 6 cars. The Porsche scene looks like one continuous moment, but it was built from multiple pieces carefully stitched together. What appears to be a single car rolling toward the water was actually created using several different vehicles. Each one served a specific purpose, allowing the production to capture angles and movements that one car alone could not deliver. Different models were used for different shots, and not all of them matched perfectly. Some had slight variations in design, details, or condition. On their own, those differences would have been noticeable. Through editing, they were blended into one seamless sequence. Cuts were placed at precise moments, hiding transitions and maintaining the illusion of a single uninterrupted action. This approach gave the filmmakers more control over the scene. One car handled the approach, another was prepared for the water, and others were used for close-ups or safety shots. By dividing the sequence into parts, the crew could focus on each element without risking everything in a single take. Number 9. The missing engine trick. The Porsche that slips into the water wasn't fully intact, and that detail mattered more than most viewers realize. Before filming, the production had to follow strict environmental rules that prevented any harmful materials from entering the lake. A complete car filled with fluids and mechanical parts would have risked contamination. To avoid that, the vehicle was stripped down before it ever reached the dock. The engine, along with other key components, was removed entirely. Without those parts, the car became much lighter and safer to submerge. This adjustment ensured that no oil, fuel, or chemicals would leak into the water during the scene. It was a practical decision, but it also shaped how the sequence looked on camera. Because the engine was missing, the car's balance changed. The front end sat higher than normal, creating a slightly unusual posture as it rolled toward the edge. That subtle difference is visible in the final shot, even if most people don't immediately notice it. The movement feels just a bit off, adding to the tension in a quiet way. Number 8. The meeting that changed everything. Before Tom Cruise secured the role, the director had doubts about whether he fit the character. Cruise's energy on screen felt intense, almost too sharp for a suburban teenager who was supposed to seem unsure and slightly out of his depth. That perception could have ended his chances early, but one unexpected moment changed everything. Cruise's agent arranged a casual meeting that was anything but ordinary. It wasn't a formal audition or a polished presentation. Instead, it was an unplanned encounter designed to shift how the director saw him. When Cruise walked in, he wasn't dressed to impress. He arrived in a rough in-between state, still carrying the look from another role. His hair was unstyled, his clothes were simple, and there was nothing refined about his appearance. That version of him felt closer to the character than anything the director had seen before. Without trying, he showed a different side, one that felt more grounded and believable. The intensity was still there, but it was balanced by a sense of vulnerability that hadn't been obvious earlier. In that short interaction, the perception shifted. The director no longer saw a mismatch. Instead, he saw potential. What could have been a missed opportunity turned into the moment that opened the door to everything that followed. Number 7. The transformation behind the role. Landing the role was only part of the challenge. Once Tom Cruise was cast, the next step was making him believable as a high school student. At the time, his natural look carried more intensity and maturity than the character required. To match the role, he had to reshape his appearance in a short amount of time. He committed to a strict routine that focused on rapid physical change. Over 5 weeks, he lost around 14 pounds through controlled dieting and consistent exercise. The goal was not just weight loss, but a softer, less defined look that would read younger on camera. Every adjustment was made with the character in mind. After reaching that point, he made another shift. Instead of continuing to lose weight, he adjusted his routine to regain a slight fullness in his face. This subtle change helped create a more natural teenage appearance. It wasn't about looking perfect. It was about finding the right balance between youth and presence. The transformation extended beyond physical changes. His posture, expressions, and overall energy were shaped to reflect someone still figuring things out. The confidence was there, but it was controlled and uneven. Number 6. Comedy with a dark edge. At first glance, Risky Business feels like a simple teen comedy, but the tone quickly reveals something deeper. The humor is present, but it sits alongside situations that carry real weight. Joel is not just dealing with light mistakes or harmless trouble. He is making decisions that involve money, responsibility, and consequences that feel closer to adult life than teenage freedom. This mix creates a unique balance. Moments that seem playful can suddenly shift into tension without warning. The story moves between confidence and risk, showing how quickly control can slip away. Joel's actions are not treated as jokes alone. They are tied to pressure, expectations, and the fear of losing everything he is supposed to protect. That approach set the film apart from others at the time. Many teen movies focused on safe rebellion, where mistakes could be fixed easily. Here, the stakes felt higher. Every choice carried a sense of consequence, even when the tone stayed light on the surface. That contrast made the experience more engaging. Number 5. The role that almost didn't happen. The character of Guido became one of the most memorable parts of Risky Business, but the actor behind it almost never got the chance. Joe Pantoliano was not the obvious choice in the eyes of everyone involved. While the creative team saw potential in his performance, there were strong doubts coming from higher up. The concern was simple. He did not match the expected image for the role. Studio voices questioned whether he could convincingly bring the character to life. There was hesitation about his look, his presence, and how audiences would respond. In many productions, that kind of resistance is enough to push an actor out of consideration. Casting decisions often lean toward safer options that fit familiar expectations. In this case, the director and producers chose to stand firm. They believed Pantoliano could bring something different, something less predictable. That decision carried risk, but it also allowed for a more unique interpretation of the character. Instead of fitting into a standard mold, he created a presence that felt sharp and controlled. Number 4. The director who walked away. After the success of Risky Business, Paul Brickman found himself in a position most directors spend years trying to reach. He had delivered a hit, shaped a defining film of the decade, and proven he could connect with audiences. In Hollywood, that kind of success usually leads to bigger offers, larger budgets, and long-term visibility. The expectation was clear. He would move forward and build on that momentum. Instead, he made a decision that surprised almost everyone. Brickman turned down major projects that many considered career-defining opportunities. These were not small films or uncertain risks. They were high-profile productions that went on to become widely recognized. Walking away from them was not a typical move, especially for someone coming off a strong debut. He also stepped back from the spotlight. Rather than embracing the attention, he chose a quieter path, avoiding the constant visibility that often comes with success in the industry. That choice set him apart from many of his peers, who used early success as a launch point for long careers. Number 3. Music that wasn't originally made for the film. The sound of Risky Business produces a separate auditory experience which delivers an almost distant sound. The musical composition which accompanies the film actually creates the entire atmosphere of the movie. Tangerine Dream used a different method to create their musical score. They used existing material because they wanted to continue their work from previous projects. The film includes several tracks which were not created for their specific scenes. They took existing material from previous work and transformed it to match the requirements of the narrative. The process required them to modify all 3 components, so the music would synchronize with visual elements. The original independent components merged together to form a new context that combined with the film as if they had always existed there. The unique element which this method introduced created an uncommon effect which transformed the complete experience. The music for each moment in the film developed from existing music patterns which created a distance between the audience and the performance. The film used that specific quality to create a dreamlike atmosphere which made certain scenes appear to exist beyond actual existence. The approach functioned effectively during calm scenes because it enabled emotional development without using direct explanation methods. Number 2. The house fans got wrong. The suburban home turned into a popular attraction after Risky Business became a popular cultural success. Fans started visiting the actual location of the Goodson home because they wanted to see the place where the movie showed its story. People stopped their cars to take pictures of the house, which transformed into something beyond its function as a home. Most fans who searched for specific items actually found nothing because that was the unique aspect of the situation. The famous interior scenes, including the living room where the iconic dance took place, were not filmed inside that house. The external elements of the project contained all its recognizable parts, although the actual content originated from different production sites. The film used it as a symbol, although the actual content displayed only partial aspects of the story. People continued to visit the site despite the existing difference. Many people only needed to see the exterior of the building to establish their connection with the narrative. The house image already existed in their memory because they formed a bond with it which mattered more to them than precise details. Because the truth about that famous interior is something most people still don't know. Number 1. The house that wasn't a house. The first recognizable interior space of Risky Business actually exists as a constructed set, rather than an actual residential building. The living room that audiences remember so clearly was built inside a high school gym, transformed into a believable home through careful design and planning. At a glance, nothing feels out of place. The filmmakers achieved their purpose by creating a layout that leads to both natural lighting and spatial design elements which match their intended artistic vision. The production team gained better operational control of their project through gym facilities than they would have obtained from actual residential spaces. The production team established moving camera paths as they created their set, which allowed them to redesign their space and rearrange furniture at will. The flexible system allowed the team to collect wide shots and smooth motion and difficult angles which they could not achieve in limited space. The arrangement of every detail worked to create the desired illusion. Set designers created space which appeared to have been inhabited by actual people. Authenticity was established through the combination of decorative items and furniture arrangement and material selection and light sources. The goal was not just to build a set, but to make it feel like a real home where the story could unfold naturally. For years, most viewers never questioned it. The scene felt real because everything worked together seamlessly. The work demonstrates how film creates perception through its transformation of a basic gym into one of cinema's most famous interior spaces. Risky Business wasn't just a film. It was a series of unexpected decisions, lucky breaks, and behind-the-scenes moments that somehow came together perfectly. From improvised scenes to hidden production tricks, every detail played a role in shaping what became a cultural classic. If one of these facts surprised you, hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more deep dives into movies you thought you already knew. And if you're not ready to leave just yet, the next video on your screen reveals another story that changed Hollywood in ways no one saw coming.